while OTF was built on loyalty and became infamous throughout the years. It really became the gold standard for authentic drill music. Yet, in one of the craziest of the gang, this same so-called authenticity pushed OTF into a spiral of violence that got federal prosecutors tagging it as a criminal enterprise acting as a record label. This is the story of the rise and sad downfall of OTF, the foundation. Dirk Derrick Banks founded Only the Family in 2010 from the grimy blocks between 67th and 79th on Chicago's South Side. Growing up in Englewood, Dirk witnessed firsthand how the streets could snatch a young life before he even made it to 20. The Black Disciples set he claimed wasn't just a gang affiliation turned out to be survival in a war zone where ops stayed lurking and beef never really. The gang name carried real weight. OTF was a lot more than music. Apparently, when you got put on with them, you were joining a brotherhood where loyalty was way deeper than blood. Dirk surrounded himself with day one homies who had been riding with him since when he was still a kid in the industry, so it became this inner circle that would die before they switched up. The early roster featured his cousin OTF Nunu and his older brother D Thang, so it was a big deal family business. They weren't just studio gangsters or industry plants trying to make street names. In fact, every member had war stories that could fill up multiple drill tracks, and their music really showed the pain of watching homies get zipped up in body bags. Sadly, a lot of them got the body bag treatment. Dirk's breakthrough came with his Signed to the Streets mixtape series starting in 2013. The part where he spoke about losing soldiers and dodging the law was a real hit for listeners who really knew that struggle. The whole series was just real-life trauma made into drill beats by Dirk.
Yeah.
So you got out of your you got out of your deal with Def Jam, but you felt like that was holding you back?
No, it was holding me back for sure.
Like, what was the issue?
They just weren't for me. Like, they just didn't fit me.
You feel like they didn't understand your music?
That, my story, they didn't understand nothing of me. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a few people that
Def Jam Records recognized the authenticity and signed Dirk, giving OTF its first major platform. Albums like Remember My Name in 2015 and Lil Durk 2X in 2016 proved that Chicago drill could compete commercially without sacrificing its street name. Dirk really knew how to make pain sound beautiful, and even though it was really odd, turning traumatic experiences into radio-ready hits made his money. Just so you know, the connection to O Block, specifically the Parkway Gardens housing project, wasn't coincidental. OTF operated from the same blocks where members had been banging since they were shorties. The Parkway Gardens became synonymous with OTF's brand, with even their music videos shot in the same courtyards where real beef had bodies dropping. Luckily, AMF Visuals saw OTF's potential early and offered to shoot their videos for free. Now, OTF had the stage for all their stories, and it became real easy turning grimy block footage into visuals that had both the beauty and brutality of their reality. The foundation was solid, making real music about real situations. Compared to manufactured drill that borrowed the whole street tag, OTF's originality had zero questions because they lived every bar they rapped. The gang operated like a street organization with both legit business fronts and, of course, the usual criminal gang drama. What started as a tight-knit crew of day one homies grinding in the studio was about to transform into something much bigger. The streets had taught them how to survive, but the music industry was about to show them how to thrive. New faces would join the family, bringing different talents and even deadlier reputations. The foundation was set, but the real takeover was just beginning. The takeover. The game changed completely when King Von linked up with OTF. Von wasn't just another rapper trying to get put on with the gang. He was a certified stepper with a reputation that told a whole different story. Von's Crazy Story dropped in 2018 and immediately went crazy viral, showing a level of rap that was way different from the usual drill rappers. The track was something of a movie told in 3 minutes, complete with plot twists and, of course, character development. Now, the chemistry between Dirk and Von was just crazy. Where Dirk brought melodic hooks and emotional depth, Von delivered hard-hitting verses packed with street knowledge. Their collab, Crazy Story 2.0, showed just how two different rap styles could make the perfect remix, and they basically made the golden formula for the drill scene. Von's 2020 album, Welcome to O Block, came up as number 5 on the Billboard 200, proving that real drill music could become a major hit without shading off its street nature. The album was named after the same housing project where OTF members had been posted up and sliding for years, turning their block into a worldwide brand that even civilians knew about. By 2022, OTF had become the blueprint for Chicago drill. Dirk brought mainstream appeal while keeping his street credibility intact, and Von provided the raw storytelling that kept OTF rooted in real stepper experiences. The collective had successfully bridged the gap between getting bags and keeping it 100 with the trenches. Atlantic Records and other major labels started hitting up OTF, recognizing their industry executives who had previously been ducking Chicago drill artists began viewing OTF as solid investments rather than hot potatoes that could bring federal heat. Dirk's business mind set him apart from typical drill rappers. While many of his homies remained focused solely on keeping it real in the streets, Dirk peeped that long-term success required playing chess instead of checkers. He emphasized fair partnership deals and 50-50 splits, showing that being street smart didn't mean being business stupid. The gang's music videos constantly pulled millions of views. OTF members like Booker 600 and Duty Low began developing their own fan bases, showing the collective's ability to elevate multiple artists simultaneously. The OTF brand had become bigger than any individual member, creating a platform that could launch multiple careers. Yet even during their peak success, OTF's street connections remained strong. The same authenticity that drove their commercial success also kept them entangled in Chicago's gang politics, setting the stage for the tragic events that would follow. Success couldn't shield them from the demons that made their music so real. While they were collecting plaques and getting industry respect, the same ops who'd been gunning for them since day one were still plotting in the shadows. The streets don't care about your Billboard charts or Grammy nominations. Beef never expires, and old scores always need settling. The started knocking on OTF's door early, beginning with Dirk's cousin OTF Nunu. On May 31st, 2014, Nunu was found multiple times in a parking lot near 79th Street and Cottage Grove Avenue. The 21-year-old had been grinding to establish himself as OTF's next breakout star, but the streets cut his journey short before he could reach his potential. Less than a year later, the Reaper came for another OTF family member when Chino Dollar got in a drive-by. Dirk's friend and manager was sitting in a car on South Stony Island Avenue when pulled up and opened, leaving the 24-year-old on arrival. The pattern was becoming clear. Being connected to OTF made you a target. The most devastating blow came on November 6, 2020, when King Von was down outside the Monaco Hookah Lounge in Atlanta. Von had been in Atlanta for his album release party when beef with Quando Rondo's crew escalated into a the 26-year-old rapper, who had just reached the peak of his career, in a parking lot far from the Chicago blocks that made him. Timothy Lul Tim Leaks, a Quando Rondo associate, allegedly pulled the trigger that ended Von's life. Even more painful was that Leaks walked free in August 2023 after claiming self-defense under Georgia's Stand Your Ground law. Von not only devastated OTF emotionally, but also set in motion a chain of events that would ultimately destroy the collective. The pain intensified when Dirk lost his older brother, OTF D-Thang, on June 5, 2021. D-Thang was in the head outside Club O in Harvey, Illinois, dying instantly in broad daylight. The 32-year-old was down just one day after Dirk released The Voice of the Heroes with Lil Baby, turning what should have been a celebration into a funeral. Harvey police recovered weapons but made no arrests, leaving D-Thang's unsolved like so many OTF-related. The lack of justice became a recurring theme. OTF members kept getting smoked while their walked free. OTF also lost producer Turn Me Up Josh in May 2021, adding another name to the gang's growing list of casualties. The multi-platinum producer who had helped craft OTF's sound was found under circumstances that remain unclear, further darkening an already tragic year. The all reflected OTF's entanglement in Chicago's gang wars, particularly with gangster disciples factions like Tookaville. Each sparked retaliation cycles that pulled OTF deeper into street politics, blurring the lines between music and warfare. Federal prosecutors would later argue that these motivated OTF's transition from a music gang to a criminal enterprise. The pain of losing homies allegedly drove Dirk and OTF to seek street justice when the system failed to get back for them. By 2021, OTF had lost more members violence than most crews have lost in a decade. The gang that had risen through authentic street stories was getting bodied by the same forces that created those stories. Had become OTF's most consistent collaborator. The streets had taken their toll, but the feds had been peeping every move from the cut. All those bodies and all that pain would eventually catch up with OTF in ways they never saw coming. When grief turns into revenge plots, that's when the alphabet boys start building cases that could put you in jail forever. Federal hammer. The feds had been watching OTF for years, building cases that would eventually bring down the entire organization. What started as grief over King Von's escalated into a federal murder-for-hire conspiracy that exposed OTF's criminal operations. On August 19, 2022, OTF's thirst for revenge caught up with them in Los Angeles. Federal prosecutors allege that Dirk coordinated a hit on Quando Rondo to avenge Von, offering monetary bounties and music opportunities to whoever could locate and eliminate Rondo. The assassination attempt went sideways, missed Rondo, but his cousin Xavier Lul Pob Robinson at a gas station near the Beverly Center. OTF members fired at least 18 rounds at Rondo's vehicle, but their target survived while an innocent family member paid the ultimate price. The feds tracked every move through financial records and surveillance footage. OTF used their own credit cards to book flights from Chicago to San Diego, hotel rooms, and even ski masks for the hit. The level of coordination showed this wasn't a spontaneous act of revenge, but a calculated criminal operation. On October 24, 2024, the hammer finally dropped when Lil Durk was arrested near Miami International Airport. Federal agents caught him attempting to flee the country on a private jet to Italy, with backup flights booked to Dubai and Switzerland. Durk's attempt to run showed he knew the walls were closing in. The same day, 5 OTF members got snatched up in Chicago: King Von London Grant, DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, Keith Jones, David Bryan Lindsay, and Asa Houston. Each face federal charges for conspiracy to commit murder for hire, resulting in machine gun use in violent crimes. Federal prosecutors painted OTF as a hybrid organization, part music label, part criminal enterprise. The superseding indictment alleged that Durk used OTF's bread and connections to coordinate hits while keeping up the front of a legit record label. The case wasn't officially labeled RICO, but the feds were moving like it was racketeering by going after the whole crew instead of just individual bodies. If convicted, Durk faces life behind the wall or the penalty, effectively ending OTF's run and his career at the same time. Meanwhile, civil litigation intensified when FBG Duck's mother filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Durk, Von's estate, and OTF. Lashina Weekly accused OTF of operating as a criminal enterprise that monetized Duck's 2020 through music and social media. The lawsuit alleged that King Von placed a $100,000 bounty on Duck's head, with Durk and OTF executives fully aware and complicit. 6 O-Block members were already convicted for Duck's murder, but the lawsuit sought to hold OTF's leadership accountable for ordering the hit. Betrayal struck from within when rumors surfaced that OTF Jam had cooperated with federal investigators. According to industry sources, Jam allegedly wore a wire after catching a gun charge in 2023, providing the FBI with inside information about OTF's criminal activities. The snitching allegations created paranoia within OTF's remaining members. Some unverified reports claim Durk ordered the of Jam's baby mother, Octavia Redmond, as retaliation for cooperating with authorities, though no evidence supports this connection. With Durk facing life without parole and his top locked up, OTF's whole structure crumbled overnight. Remaining members became sitting ducks for ops who peeped the weakness and smelled blood in the water. With Durk's trial pushed back to October 2025, the federal hammer had finally dropped on Chicago's most powerful drill collective. OTF's transformation from music label to criminal enterprise was complete, but so was their destruction. The same federal system that let Von and D-Thang's killers walk free would now decide whether OTF's leadership spent the rest of their lives in the box. Recent reports suggest OTF affiliates keep getting smoked by ops who sense the crew is finished. With no leadership and federal heat intensifying, the family that once seemed bulletproof has become Chicago's biggest target. The rise of Only the Family proved that real street stories could take over mainstream music. Their downfall proves that some realness comes with prices too heavy to carry. Federal courtrooms don't care about Billboard charts, and prosecutors don't see the difference between bars and actual conspiracies. OTF's legacy stays unfinished. Their story won't end until the last gavel drops and the final verdict gets read. Until then, the family that built an empire on loyalty and blood watches it fall apart under federal indictments and cold cases that won't stay buried. If you like this video, click one of the windows on either side to watch a video similar to this one.